right, Eric mancow-muller, big syndicated host on WABC in New York. He doesn't like Obama, but I've been on his show for many years, and going back over 2 years, he said he thinks it's a setup, not by folks that are asking the questions, but overall, Obama hasn't released it playing along because he doesn't want you looking at the rest of his record. But we've got the original investigator, Phil J. Berg, who himself's a Democrat and was just asking the questions here with us. And I can attest, you can pull the videos and audio up. Phil Berg's been saying for really more than 2 years, Indonesia is the issue. And they admit his name's Barry Soetoro. Well, you had to give up your citizenship to become an Indonesian citizen. And so we know there's been secrecy. Is that why they've tried to keep everything secret? But I got to say, Mancow, imagine there I was live on your show today for an hour and a half, and while I'm live with you at about 9:30, the president cuts in over Donald Trump. The whole thing clearly staged. The network's all ready. I don't know if Trump's involved in this, but you had the point that Trump's a big Democratic donor. The numbers are out. He does favor Democrats. Is he trying to throw things here? You're on the air with phil-berg, Mancow. What's your take on this?
Well, Alex, I've got a lot to say. Look, I voted for Ross Perot, and Ross Perot was a loser. I think what we're seeing here, look, it's so incredible. You and I are doing our little dance. We're arguing. All of a sudden, Donald's on TV. We're listening to it. And then Obama comes on and says, I was at the White House watching this, and I had to jump on TV. Imagine this. Jumping on TV, all the networks broke into Donald Trump, not to say that we had gone to war or that we had been attacked, but he was watching it. He couldn't take it anymore, and he came out with his birth certificate. I mean, it's a powerful thing. This birther issue, to me, has always felt like a setup, as I said. But look, now Obama has given a major boost and major credibility to Donald Trump. I wonder if they're not setting Donald Trump up to be the spoiler. He will siphon off enough Republican votes that stiff Mitt Romney will be a dead duck, and he'll split the vote, and Obama will be back in the White House. It does feel like this president wants desperately to have Donald Trump run against him because they think, maybe they're wrong, they think that he's an easy one to beat.
Well, he's got a lot of skeletons and a lot of skeletons that are already out of the closet. That is Trump. Obama does not want to run on his record. So there's two ways to look at it. They kept this secret for so long, have acted very suspicious because something was there. I mean, what about him going back 2 years ago saying that the receipt of the birth certificate, and we'll put that on screen, was the birth certificate, and they'd say you were a conspiracy theorist if you pointed out that, no, that's not the long form, and again, we'll put that on screen. And then now they do release the long form. I mean, Mancow, how long did they do that?
Well, what did you just say? A couple of years. I mean, Phil Berg, look, I've been following Phil here, and it's not my show, Alex, but, I mean, I always, here's what I wondered. I always wondered if the real birth certificate would list him as a Muslim. That's what I thought. I don't know. Phil, I mean, does this end this issue for Phil?
Phil.
Yeah, this is not nice talking to you. This is Phil Berg. No, it doesn't end the issue. I think many other attorneys in the country dealt with just the birth certificate issue. From over 2 years ago, I brought up the issue of the adoption in Indonesia. And when he's adopted, he loses his status of whatever he had. So if he was natural born, once you're adopted in another country, Indonesia did not provide for dual citizenship back in the 1960s. He lost his status. The greatest status he could have now is naturalized. I don't even think he's naturalized. I think he's, believe it or not, an illegal alien, and therefore his term as United States Senator from Illinois was fraud. And hopefully people will zero in on that issue.
Wow.
And obviously, if you can't be a U.S. Senator, you
can't
be
Phil,
president.
what about the issue of them for 2 years plus saying that the certificate of live birth, all they released was this computer printout and told us we were conspiracy theorists. In fact, we'll show folks a document cam shot. They kept saying that this was the original and we were conspiracy theorists. Now today, they released this. What's your take on that?
Well, I think it just shows there are a bunch of liars there. Also significant, as far as I'm concerned, on both documents is his race. His race is listed as African. African was not a race in 1961. You were either black or Negro back in 1961. You weren't African. I mean, that's why people have to look carefully at what these documents say.
But they've got experts that know how to fake a document. They can create fake newscasts if they want. That's what I'm saying. Why does this thing... So you're saying you question the provenance of this birth certificate?
Absolutely. And why didn't they release it 2.5 years ago?
All right, I want to get Eric Mancow-Muller of mancow.com's take on that, phil-berg's take on that. On the other side, of course, obamacrimes.com. We're going to be breaking it all down. Mancow, stay there. Phil-berg, stay there. I want to get a little bit more from you, Mancow. Then we'll bring Webster Tarpley, another researcher, into Obama's providence with Phil-berg.
Discussions. I was just back there listening to Chuck. He was saying, it's amazing that he's not going to be talking about national security. I would not have the networks breaking in if I was talking about that, Chuck, and you know it. As many of you have been briefed, we provided additional information today about the site of my birth. Now, this issue has been going on for 2.5 years now. I think it started during the campaign. And I have to say that over the last 2.5 years, I have watched with bemusement. I've been puzzled at the degree to which this thing just kept on going. We've had every official in Hawaii, Democrat and Republican, every news outlet that has investigated this, confirm that, yes, in fact, I was born in Hawaii, August 4th, 1961,
okay.
in Kepiolani Hospital. So
there you have it. The whole video's up on Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, everywhere else. All I know is for 2+ years, all they gave us was this receipt of it, and they claimed this was a birth certificate and that we were conspiracy theorists. Now they release this, and one of the original researchers into this, Phil J. Berg, joins us, syndicated radio host Eric Mancow-Muller, also joins us, Webster Tarpley, coming up in about 10 minutes. And Mr. Berg is getting more intel in from his forensic team that's looking at this. Right before the break, Mr. Berg, and I want to get Mancow's take on this in a moment, you came out and said that the preliminary points are coming out and that you're now questioning the provenance of this birth certificate. You're saying this could be a phony.
Well, it could be, but, even if it, let's assume for a minute it's not a phony. The issue then is he's adopted in Indonesia, and that changes his status. He would no longer be natural born. He would be naturalized, and naturalized, you cannot be president of the United States. When you heard Obama, he made like a big joke about this. I've been watching this for 2.5 years. Yeah, but you also spent like $2 million fighting all our lawsuits. Why didn't you release this information? Why didn't you grant discovery in any of these cases? Because if you granted discovery, we could have gotten this birth certificate, but also we could have gotten your adoption records and all your other records. When he went to school in California, Occidental, people called him Barry. His legal name, I believe, is Barry Sotoro. If he hasn't legally changed it, every time he uses Barack Hussein Obama, that's fraud.
All right, stop right there, Phil, because I want to go back to Mancow and get his take, and then I'll continue with you after Mancow goes. But that's a good point that Phil has. Why did they spend $2 million fighting Phil Berg's lawsuits and millions fighting other lawsuits? Why didn't he just release this, Mancow?
Well, and why didn't they just give it to Hillary? I think this is a false flag kind of situation. I don't know if it's a forgery. And look, Alex, you're not going to be able to understand what I'm talking about sitting in Austin, Texas. You and Kinky Frieden are and a couple of singers, the only people that I know in Austin. Let me say this. I live in the inner city. When I was a baby, my mother had to clutch me at her chest, and my brothers, they had to hide because of the groups that were going. We lived in Memphis when MLK was shot, when Martin Luther King Jr. was shot. I was in the riots, and you can see me all over the CNN footage when Rodney King was beaten, and it was terrifying. Now, you're going to come out and tell America that their first black president isn't eligible, and I live in the inner city with 2 children? My God, our cities will burn. I think they're all too afraid to admit what this guy is. And I also want to say, I found it sickening. Did you listen to all the media people, all the reporters, so-called reporters, as he says, news outlets? And let me finish on this, Alex, before you cut me off. I love the president sitting there laughing with all these reporters. Did you hear him chuckling? You just played it. And I'd like to throttle Chucky Todd, and the rest of them. Let's think about this. They push through. We can't have light bulbs We have to have these new toxic curly-Q light bulbs made by GE. GE makes $14 billion and gives a lot of money to the dummy craps and Obama. They own NBC. We have no news. They pay no taxes on $14 billion, General Electric. We all have to get their new curly-Q light bulbs, and then Chucky Todd and Brian Williams and all of them sit there and chuckle. We don't get the real news. It's so confusing.
Well, Mancow, in your gut,
in Libya, I mean, what's happening? There is a dark undercurrent going on. There is something sinister happening. And, what is it about this guy? And look, Donald Trump, they're setting him up to be a candidate. I think Obama, so that makes me nervous. I think Obama wants to run against Trump. But Trump has brought up some interesting things. Alex, I guarantee people would know you from Austin, Texas Elementary. They'd know me. Why doesn't anybody remember this guy as a kid? What is his history?
Well, Mancow, let me shift gears back.
Who is this man we elected?
Let me shift gears back because I interrupted you trying to get in there. You are now starting to look at the fact that Sky Television headline, Al-Qaeda operative that killed troops worked for British intelligence. They now admit that the head of the 7/7 bombings in London was British intelligence. Anwar al-Awlaki hiding out at the Pentagon, Fox News, and now Al-Qaeda being the core of the Libyan rebels. I'm glad that you're starting to turn the corner on that.
Alex, here's what I know, and it's the foundation of everything, and you know it, and you've used it to great success. And let's tell the people this is all they need to know when they watch the news or go to school or talk to their wife or talk to their boss or talk to whoever. It's a 4-letter F word, and it's fear. And people in power have always used it. If you don't do what we say, you're going to go to hell. If you don't do what I say, I'm going to take your apartment and raise your kids with another man. If you don't do what I say, we're going to audit you. And this government uses fear. They use a boogeyman. Right now, they're using the boogeyman of Al-Qaeda. And do I think there are radical Muslims? Of course. Yeah. I visited the Middle East. Boy, are they primitive kooks. But they keep stoking the fires. They keep creating this fear. My God, we may be going into our fourth war in Syria. And we've lost thousands of our young men and women, and we haven't gotten a drop of oil. It's insanity. It's madness. Now we're giving body armor and training to Al-Qaeda in Libya. Yeah, Al-Qaeda, the same people that bombed us on 9/11. We let 500 hardcore terrorists go. Don't tell me America didn't know about that. We let 500 of them go. We've let how many of them go from Guantanamo on purpose? Yeah, I think we have to create an enemy. We have to have fear, because when people are afraid, they give up their rights. They give up their freedoms. Look at the way we're allowing our children to be molested at the airports by these TSA thugs. We're allowing our bodies to be filled with radiation because we're afraid. We're afraid. Not me. I don't have fear. You can rewire your brain, folks. Don't buy into their fear. Don't buy into their propaganda.
Sure, but going back, Mancow, I like your little backhanded comment, because I was ranting at you today, and that's cute, that I've used fear to great effect. I have, brother,
you didn't hear what I said. I'm saying that you're telling people about the fear. I'm not talking about you.
No, but going back, I want to say something. I do use fear, because when I'm afraid of something, when I'm concerned about taxes going up or open borders or stage terror, I come and tell people. So I'm saying when you're at the edge of a cliff and you're hanging out over it, fear is a good thing when it's proper. I'm saying they orchestrate fear to manipulate people, and we need to understand that most of the things they try to make us scared of, like terrorism, aren't really that dangerous per capita, because you have more people dying from a honeybee sting every year than you do from terrorism. But in closing, Mancow, give us your website and also any final questions for Phil Berg.
Alex, listen. Look, they use fear to manipulate us. If they wanted to beat these radical Muslims, guess what we would do? We would send our soldiers over there, and we would kill them. And end of story. We're not allowing our soldiers to kill them. When we catch them, we're letting them go. They want this fear, and when America is afraid, we give up our freedoms, and we allow this kind of tyranny. And my only question for Phil Berg is he secretly working for Hillary Clinton? My website is mancow.com. I'm going to be listening out. Alex. You have a great show. Thank you.
All right, you too. Well, that was a curveball from Eric Mancow-Muller.